Welcome to Living Life in Love with Vitiligo. I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. This is a global vitiligo awareness and education podcast. You will hear the true and authentic stories from people living with vitiligo. You'll also hear from their loved ones, medical professionals, licensed mental health therapists, relationship counselors, global vitiligo support foundations and organizations, and so much more. Sit back and enjoy living life and love with vitiligo. Once again, I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. Welcome to Living Life and Love with Vitiligo. I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina, and my special guest, two guests. I have Nia Rose, and who's your guest, Nia?
This is Millie, Miss Millie, the diva, who is nosy and just has to be in on everything.
Absolutely. So, hey. Well, welcome, Miss Millie. Miss Millie's a little tired. Hey, I get it. We all get a little tired. So, originally, you were supposed to be on one of my first shows, and you got sick. And I mentioned on that podcast that I was going to have you come back when you're able to, so we can have this discussion. So, I'm glad you're here. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Me too.
Before we jump into it, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe a little bit about your background and what you do, and then we can kind of jump from there.
Okay. Again, I'm Nia Rose. I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor here in the state of North Carolina, where I've been now for going on 7 years, but I've been in the field of mental health since 1989. And yes, that does mean I'm old as dirt, but I have been around and doing different aspects, from doing inpatient to outpatient psych, substance abuse, eating disorders, working with HIV and AIDS, working with personality disorders. So a little bit of everything, because I wanted to be as much of a well-rounded therapist as I possibly could. So just to have experience in different areas. And I love the field of mental health because it is about helping people, and it is about making information available to people to let them know there's hope and you're not alone, and there's no shame at all associated.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to talk about. I think that's been a big push within the vitiligo community, excuse me, not just to talk about what vitiligo is and its impact, but just to know that there's other things that come with having this condition. And a big part of it is the mental health aspect. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to have you on so we can dig into it a little bit more, mm-hmm. and then provide some tools and support for people, because that's going to be the important part.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about it. A lot of times, and I'm going to identify mental health as mental health challenges.
Yes.
I understand in the medical profession, they say disorders, they might say symptoms and all these syndromes and everything. But I want to say challenges, because I think all of us at some point in life deal with some type of mental health challenge in so many different ways. And I want to say that it could be everything from family situations, it could be relationships, it could be work, it could be friendships, it could be just driving through traffic every day. All these little things can create these challenges for us.
Right.
So what are some of those common signs that you may see amongst people, although we're all different, but some common things that we may see?
Absolutely. And, you and I were just talking about that word challenges, because I find if you tell somebody, oh, I'm giving you a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, right, there's this heavy label, and this person's like, okay, so that means there's something wrong with me and it might not be able to be fixed. And, I'm just all kinds of messed up. And the label sometimes can really be as damaging as some of the challenges and signs and symptoms that we may see. So, yes, I really like that word challenges versus disorder and everything like that. But talking about signs and symptoms, and, one of the things that I tell my clients in my private practice is if you start to notice within yourself or in a loved one that they are changing. Maybe they've been a happy-go-lucky person for a while, but you see them start to be a little bit more quiet or reserved, or maybe they start to isolate, withdraw from things that they might not normally withdraw from. They're not putting out as much energy as they used to. So that's definitely a sign that something is different. You might see periods of sadness. Maybe the person, again, basically happy-go-lucky, but maybe they are tearful, and they might become tearful over something that might not bother you and I, but you mention it to them, and all of a sudden they're just, crying their eyes out. So that's definitely something to take a look at. If you see changes in mood that go from being okay one second and then the next second maybe being angry or irritable, and just switching it up. I'm fine. Now I'm angry. I'm okay again. Now I'm sad. So those changes in the mood and presentation definitely a sign that there's some kind of challenge going on. If you see people engaging in self-harming behaviors, I see some teenagers, they start, and it seems to be a big thing with teenagers, but they might start doing cutting, or they might start taking cigarette butts and burning themselves, or cutting themselves in different parts of their body. So that is definitely a sign that, all right, something's going on. Also, if you see people hanging out with folks that they might not ordinarily hang out with, and you get concerned, like, okay, your friends were these people over here, but now you're hanging out with these people that I'm not so sure about, what's going on. So that could be a sign or a symptom. Changes in appetite, changes in sleep patterns, definitely changes in, um, the person may have been someone who never missed a day of work, but now all of a sudden they're taking sick days. And you're like, okay, what's going on with this? So those are just some of kind of very brief signs that you might see. But the big thing is a change in how that person normally operates and presents in the world. Definitely.
Absolutely. And I would be honest, excuse me, I went through that change in 2022. Let's see, 2021, 2022.
Hmm.
Um in the middle of COVID, we had to return back to school. And we were not prepared for what we were going to be thrown into, with having a social distance from the students, and you still have people getting sick, and I know some people feel like, oh, this wasn't a real thing and it was made up. No, it was a real thing. People are
Hmm.
really getting sick. Some people even passed away from having
Yep.
COVID.
Yep.
Um, I found myself going from being this jolly person to no laughter at all. And if I
Mhm.
was laughing, it was to keep myself from falling apart.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had a coworker point that out. She said, "You don't smile anymore. I don't see the Mr. B anymore."
Hmm.
And I know that too. I recognize that I wasn't being myself, because when you start taking on all these other things and challenges, and you're trying to be the backbone for a classroom and for students, and
Hmm.
you kind of forget yourself in the process.
Right.
And
Exactly.
that's what was happening to me. I was forgetting about me.
Yeah.
However, I knew something had to be done, and I said, "I'm leaving."
Hmm.
And it
Hmm.
it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do, it's what
Hmm.
I had to do.
Right. Right.
And a lady I talked to, I'm not going to put her name out there, but she said, take 6 months off and
Hmm.
then come back when you're ready.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
did. And that was what I needed. I needed that 6 months to really reset myself, get
Hmm.
my brain focused, and
Hmm.
thinking how I'm gonna push through to the next few years, or if I'm gonna stay in education altogether. I had to take that time for me. And I think a lot of us get into that habit of not doing that. We don't think about ourselves because
Right.
we're so busy trying to help other people.
Right, right. And you made a really good point too about another sign. If you see someone or if you see yourself, and I'm glad you did, make a change from what they were doing before, and all of a sudden, there's this big change. They may leave a job, they may go into something that is like completely not them, and you're just kind of wondering, okay, what's going on here? Um, and being able to have somebody that you can reach out to and talk to and say, this is how I'm feeling inside. I don't
Right.
feel like me. I don't feel like me. I don't know what it is, but having somebody really to talk to, and we can certainly get into that a little bit more later. But the other thing too is people do not, or a lot of people don't acknowledge, recognize, or pay attention to changes they may be feeling inside. So they'll try and sweep it under the rug. Oh, I'll be okay. But that dirt under the rug sometimes gets so big you end up tripping over it. And that's really where
Absolutely.
some problems can start to occur. Absolutely.
And that was one of the things I recognized. I wasn't being me. There were times I sat in the break room, and I always sit in the break room and eat. And I enjoy being in peace with no one was there. But it wasn't peace. It was I was isolating myself,
Mm-hmm.
because I was going through, and I'm just gonna be honest. It was a tough time. And
Mm-hmm.
then when you try to share, people don't quite understand it when you say, "Oh, this year's tough. It's heavy. It's a hard year."
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of hear, and we're gonna get into this in a minute. As a man, I'm hearing, "You got this. Push through it.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna be okay. Stop complaining. Just do it."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm reaching out to you, sharing and saying, "This is what I'm feeling, what I'm going through."
Right.
That means that's my way of reaching out to say, "I need help."
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And that's hard for men because you and I have
Yeah,
talked about that before. That's hard for guys because I think part of it is, you're socialized like man up,
right,
put your big boy pants on and deal with this. But if you don't have the information, resources, or tools to deal with it, then you're in that stuck place with like, what do I do now? I have no
right.
idea. I have no clue. So,
Let me ask you this, Nia. So I was looking at some of the statistics, and the statistics come from the National Alliance of Mental Health, and they talked about the number of people or the percentage of people that take their lives. And it said 79% were men. Um, as we talk about mental health and we talk about it in terms of men, I do want to focus on men for a minute
mm-hmm,
because I feel like we need a lot more resources for men
mm-hmm,
because a lot of men feel like there's nobody for me. There's no help for me. And when I go to get help, I'm told you're tough enough. I'm told I'm strong enough. And yes, we're tough. Yes, we could be strong, but when it comes to the weight of the world, work, family, situations you're going through, it
mm-hmm,
could be overwhelming. And sometimes the only way out for some people, they feel like I don't need to be here.
mm-hmm.
And we need to find a different way to say, you know what, my brother, I got you. You're
Right.
not alone, as you said earlier. We need
Right.
you here.
Right. Absolutely. And too, thinking about that for men, they may feel ashamed that I'm going through something. What are people going to think about me if I step forward and reach my hand out to get some help? They may think less of me. They may not think that I'm a real man. And, again, all of these messages that we get from socialization about what it is to be a man and how a man is supposed to operate in the world, which 9 times out of 10 are false. Because before you're a man, you're a human being. And as human beings, we all need help at some point in time in our lives. So, I think a grave disservice has been done to so many men. And when a man is being told, buckle up, you're strong, you got this, that really is a slap in the face. It really is. And I hate that, to be honest with you. I
Yeah.
do.
And I could tell you as a man, when you reach out for help, and let me say this for people watching or listening, a man reaching out for help is not going to look the same as a woman. I'm just going to be honest. My way of reaching out for help could be, hey, I just called. Sometimes we may not have anything to say, but we need to hear another human being.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll reach out to our friends just to hang out, not to really do anything in particular, but just to say, I need to be around somebody else. And I'm hoping they recognize I'm not being myself. Because we
Mhm.
don't always know how to just come out and say, hey, my brother, I need help, or my sister, I need help. We
Right.
we want you to see it because we carry it on us. It's on us how we walk. And sometimes, you feel the tension building, or you just look at it. Sometimes we say that brother looks mad.
Mhm.
Maybe we don't know what they're going through.
Mhm.
Maybe they just need somebody to say good morning, hello, how are you, or just to check in, because we're
Yes.
not always going to press people to check on us.
Right.
We're
Right.
not like that. If you don't call me, I might not call you. But and I've heard somebody said this to me one day. Wow, I haven't heard from you in a while. Send me a
Mhm.
text, check in on me. Maybe I'm going through something.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, Men sometimes suffer in silence.
Yes.
We can still go to work. We still do what we need to do. We can still go out. We can still laugh and joke, but we're suffering in the inside. And a lot of people don't see it.
Mhm. Exactly. And and I hope I'm not speaking too soon, but to me, that speaks to the importance of having a support group,
Right.
people that will check in on you. I haven't heard from Mark. That's not like him. Let me call him, or
Right.
send him a text, and just check and see how he's doing. And the other piece to that is, I find men have a tendency to put that mask on. That commercial for some medication for depression or something, and the woman has the mask. And that's what a lot of men tend to do. They put that mask on because I can't really let you see what's really going on with me, because you might judge me, you might put me down or laugh at me or something like that. So I'll just wear the mask and make you think everything is okay. And it's not.
And sometimes we feel like people don't care.
Yeah.
You know, um, when you share things, and when men really open and share, that means we trust you.
Hmm.
And if we're sharing and you abuse what we've shared, or you dismiss what we've shared, we're not going to come back and talk to you.
Right.
We
Exactly.
won't talk to anybody. We can sit in our rooms all day, or watch TV all day, or sports all day, or play video games, and we could be just dealing with the weight of everything that's happening around us, even
Hmm.
something that's indirectly impacting us, like the politics we see of today.
Hmm.
Those things impact us.
Oh
We may
yeah.
not say it, but it's hitting us and it's hurting us. When we say, I feel this way, and you dismiss it, right there, we stop
Right.
talking.
Done. Exactly. Exactly. Which is a very normal reaction to kind of being shut down. So if that's how you're going to treat me, then I am going to shut down. I'm just going to stay, in my little turtle shell and suffer in silence. And that's not what we want at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Nia, let's talk about this then. You mentioned support. So, how can people go about getting support? I know we say it's easy, just ask.
Hmm.
It's not always that easy. Um,
Right.
Sometimes you don't know who to ask. Sometimes the support you ask is really not support at all. Sometimes it's to get gossip.
Yep.
Sometimes it's, I'm gonna say, ammunition against you.
Hmm.
So, how do we go about getting solid support that we can trust? And this is not just for men; it's for all people,
Hmm.
men, women, children, those who are in need, teens or young adults, those that are in need.
Absolutely. And it's so vital to have support. One of the things that we can do, each of us individually, is build a core support system. Have two or three people that you do trust, that you make an agreement with, that if I don't hear from you, I'm checking on you. If you don't hear from me, please check on me. And that's why I say keep that group small. But these are people that you would trust, that you know if they don't hear from me, they are going to check in and I can talk to them. They're not going to shut me down. They're going to listen to me. And if they've got some recommendations or suggestions, they're going to provide that. So that's one way of building a support system. For both men and women, say as adults, another way is to be able to rely on your employer to have resources in place to help you, like the Employee Assistance Program, the Employee Support and Wellness Program, knowing that you can pick up the phone and talk to somebody and say, I don't really know what's going on with me, but I need to talk to somebody and get connected with someone that you can talk to, again, who's there for you and is there to help you start to feel better about yourself. Another place, some people go to their churches and they seek support there. Pastors, deacons, other church family members. So that's another way. Another thing, and this is what one of my friends does all the time, if she's feeling a particular way, she'll go online and she'll like look up different support groups and stuff. And she's joined actually a couple of them, that are virtual, but gives her the support she needs because she's talking to people who are going through what she's going through and understand. And for teens, it's really hard, but for any adolescents who are listening to this, please know again, you're not alone. And you can talk to a teacher, a parent, someone in your church, maybe a trusted neighbor, someone that you know is not going to shut you down, but who will listen to you and say, well, you know what? I just happen to know about dot, 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 and can put that teenager in touch with that particular resource. You can always talk to your doctor and ask for help, or another healthcare practitioner for sure. So those are just some ideas on how to get that kind of support that you need that may not be readily available, but are available. Most definitely.
Absolutely. And that's the key. We have to be open to reach out for that support
Mhm.
because it's not going to always come to us. And we can't always use social media for support. Sometimes what's
Oof.
getting to our core or eating at us comes from social media.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I love to see what's happening with my friends on Facebook, but I have to do it in increments. I can't stay on it all day because you start getting all that stuff in your soul and so much negativity out there. Then you start reading comments, and then
Yeah.
somebody says something that's not geared towards you, towards somebody else, and you take offense to it. And next thing you know, you're mad about something and angry, and you don't know what's going on. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's that social media, that fighting back and forth with people. You just
Yes.
have to know how to, let me turn it off. Let me take a break from it and come
Yeah.
back when necessary.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know sometimes we use it as a support system because we'll air our problems out there and I'm going through this, I'm going through that, but you got to be careful.
Mhm. And
Um,
and you're so right because I tell folks in my private practice, focus on positive social media,
right.
but do a digital detox every once in a while. Don't go to Facebook, don't go to Instagram. Shut that stuff down, most definitely. And at least 1 hour before you go to bed, do not listen to the news. Do not go on Facebook. Don't do it. Don't do it. Listen to some calming, music or something like that to help yourself drift off into a good night's sleep for sure.
Absolutely. And this is kind of backtracking. I'm glad you said that, even about the news. Because when we think about things that create these mental challenges, we think about the worst. Most times we think about a divorce.
Mhm.
We think about job loss. We think about the really heavy things that hit us in life, or the loss of a loved one. But sometimes it is what's happening in the world.
Mm,
That stuff creates so much turmoil and problems within us because we're seeing it 24/7.
yes.
I know I want to vote, but I'm so tired of seeing everything about every candidate. all the negativity, the more you watch it, the more it builds inside of you, and you get this, you start feeling this anger towards this person. I'm like, I really don't know them personally, so why am I mad at them? you
Right.
know, and that's how I think social media is working now. Because when I say social media, it's not just Facebook, Instagram. It's the ads we see. It's the shopping we do. Because we'll get on Amazon and scroll all day, not realizing we're getting frustrated because we're looking at so many products. I want this. I want that. Maybe I'll do this. I'll get this. And before you know it, you feel cranky.
Yeah.
I'm feeling cranky.
Right. Right.
And we don't realize it. And it's when I say the news, it's not always the political news. It's not always the minor battles and wars that are happening out there. Sometimes it's the celebrity news. This celebrity did this. This celebrity said that, and now you got stake in what happened with somebody else over here because they got beef with this person, or they broke up with this person.
Right.
And I'm like, why am I mad at this person over here? Because I don't know them.
Right.
I know nothing about their lives except for what they show on online, or they starred in a movie, or they sing this song.
Right.
I don't know them personally.
Exactly.
I'm gonna share a quick story. I got 1,000 stories, but I had a friend get mad at me when Prince passed away.
What?
Because she reached out to me. I was at work and left me a message, and she was distraught, and Prince passed away, and I think I'm gonna leave work. No, it wasn't somebody that called me. It was a coworker. She was gonna leave work. And I said, well, that's great. I love his music. I enjoyed Purple Rain. I even like Under the Cherry Moon, but I don't know Prince personally. Like, I'm not gonna leave work. I hate that he passed away, and she said he did so much in her life. And I said, I get that. His music is very important, all his music is timeless. I said, but when I was going through my divorce, I'm sorry, but Prince didn't give me a call and say, hey, are you okay? And
Right.
and she really took it personal. She was so mad at me. And I said, no, I'm just telling you from my point of view. I I don't
Ooh.
I don't know him personally. He's
Yeah.
a celebrity. He doesn't
Right.
know me at all. I don't exist in his world.
Mhm.
So I said, I'm not going to take off work, and I do send condolences to the family. Even if I sent it, they don't know me still. It's just
Mhm.
just another fan. And I was just like, wow, I'm allowing someone I don't know to impact my life. But then
Mhm.
I got people right here that I do know, and I haven't checked on them. I haven't called to see if they're doing okay. I haven't called to see, hey, do you need anything? Just to talk.
Mhm.
And it kind of allowed me to put things into perspective, for at least for me.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and I get it. We do put so much stake into other people's lives, but we forget about ours and what we need. And that
Yeah.
goes back to that mental health, the challenges we have.
Mhm.
When we put so much into somebody else's life, we forget about ours. We forget to nurture ourselves.
Right.
And we're
Right.
so, and I've seen it on Facebook, we care so much about other people, but I'm thinking, what about the people right here that you can actually touch
Mhm.
and talk to and
Right.
look at and speak to? You
Right.
know,
Right.
have you told that person, hey, I care for you, I love you, you're a great friend,
Mhm.
and it's, I guess it's one of those things that it bothers me to a certain extent,
Mhm.
but also I can't control what somebody else is going to do. All I can do is focus on how I'm going to take care of me,
Mhm.
um, and acknowledge that, yeah, when celebrities do pass away, I acknowledge it,
Mm.
but I don't have a personal connection.
Right.
The
Right.
people I have a personal connection with, those are the ones I really need to talk to. Those are the ones I need to reach out to.
Right.
So if they're going through something, I got you. If I'm going through something, they got me. You know.
Mhm. Exactly.
But I think we have been. I might get in trouble with some people, but I think we've been taught to put certain people on this pedestal up here,
Mhm.
almost to the point we worship them.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of forget about the people who say, I've been with you all this time. I've been here for you. I got your back. And if
Right.
you need me, I'm here for you. But now you're kind of using me to step up to this other person who doesn't know you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you made a really good point about a lot of people will do so much for everybody else and neglect themselves. And it goes back to that analogy of you can't give water from an empty well. So that if I don't engage in self-care, if I
Right.
don't take care of Nia first, there's nothing that I can do to help you or anybody else. So, and some folks will say, "Oh, that's so selfish." Well, maybe in your world it is, but self-care is not selfish.
Right.
It is survival. I've got to take care of me. I have to make sure I get sufficient rest and all of those things. I'm eating and I'm taking care of my diabetes and all like that in order for me to be at my best to be able to help you. And that's another piece of mental health that I talk with a lot of folks who by the time they get to me they are so emotionally drained and feeling sad and depressed or anxious because they've given all their energy to everybody else, and I say let's step back for a moment and take a look at what are you doing for you. And it's like they can't even remember the last time they did anything good for themselves, and that can be perpetrated and roll very easily into, like I said, depression, anxiety, all kinds of yucky stuff that we don't want to deal with. So very important.
Absolutely. And I've had people question, well, why do you do so many things by yourself? Well, I'm taking care of me.
Mhm,
If I'm feeling overwhelmed from work, or I'm a part-time caretaker for my dad, and if I
mhm,
need to step away from things, I'll go to the movies.
mhm,
I'll go grab something to eat. And it
mhm.
doesn't mean I need to have anybody in my presence. I just need to do those things for me in that moment. And then
Right.
once I'm done, I'm good. Okay. I'm
Ex-
ready to tackle the next part of my life.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um, but I don't think we, and it's not all of us, but I say collectively um we don't always recognize how to do those things.
Mhm.
When you have conversations with people, you ask, what are your hobbies? They might say work. Work is not a hobby.
Right.
Um, I mean, going to a party is not a hobby. I mean, find things that concrete things that help you wind down from your day.
Mhm.
If it's writing, drawing, it could be working out, it could be dancing, but not necessarily a party. Because I'm gonna be honest, that I'll go to parties and sometimes they bring on more stress. But just
Exactly.
whatever it is that you need to help you, I guess, bring everything back down. Because at
Mhm,
the end of our workday, or just the end of the day, you got so much that has gone on. And when you
mhm.
start replaying everything over and over again, or that one thing that was said to you will replay in your mind, or that one mistake you made, or something somebody else did, it replays over and over again. Then you got to figure out, how do I get this out of my system?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And what does it take?
Yeah. Which I want to tie that back in for a moment to what you were talking about with people who commit suicide and
Yes.
get to that point where they feel like it's hopeless. I'm helpless. There are no other solutions. So I don't need to be here. It's so painful to be here. So if I'm not here, it won't hurt anymore. And not realizing that it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Because when you gone, you're gone.
Right.
You can't come back and say, you know what, I made a mistake. Let me try this
Right.
again. You can't. It's done. But with mental health challenges and maybe not having a support system, people can fall into that and just feel like I can't do this anymore. I'm done. I've
Right.
had it up to here. And if they don't have a support group or anybody they trust enough to talk to about those thoughts and feelings, then they're left on their own to their own resources. And that's where we see people take their lives,
Right.
you know.
And Nia, and they may not realize in the moment when that happens, they may not suffer anymore. They may not feel the pain anymore.
Mhm.
Other people will. The
Right.
people around them that love them, that care for them, now they take on that pain. Now
Right.
they take on, the questioning of why.
Mhm.
Um, and I understand we don't know, we can't get into the head of what somebody else is thinking. We can't get in that headspace,
Mhm.
but we can pay attention and ask questions.
Right.
And if you recognize, somebody, like you said, somebody's changing, because we're creatures of habit. We tend to do the same thing. We might add new things to our routine, but we're creatures of habit. And when you
Mhm.
see that change in someone, even if it's a subtle change, take some time to ask.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
don't put more pressure on them, but just recognize, hey, notice you've been a little different lately. Anything you want to talk about, put it
Mhm.
out there. Give them that opportunity to know, oh, this
Mhm.
person wants to talk.
Yeah, exactly. And so many people have said when someone has done just that, just ask me, how you doing today, really? They don't know how good that made me feel because somebody was paying attention to what was going on with me. And that just made such a world of difference. And I was able to open up and talk about what's been going on, or, guided and directed to someone that I can talk about. So you're absolutely right. I wish more people would ask other people, how you doing really?
Right.
Seriously. Don't give me the standard, I'm fine, everything's happy, because no, it's not, because you're different. You're doing things differently. So
Now, here's my take on it. If you're gonna come to me and ask me how are you doing, just make sure you are willing to hear what's going on. Because I'm gonna tell you,
mhm,
work was crazy and this what's going on and blah blah blah. No, I'm
mhm,
gonna open up. I wasn't always like that.
mhm,
Ask me what's going on, nothing. How are you
mhm,
doing? I'm good.
mhm,
Things are fine. But
mhm.
I'm learning to share,
Yeah.
and sometimes it might be um an overwhelming amount of information that a person may not be ready for. That's
Mhm,
fine. But you open up that gate. You
mhm,
said, how are you feeling? Honestly. Honestly,
mhm.
okay, good. This is what I'm going through. This is what I'm feeling
Right,
about this, about that, about this situation. Okay, I feel better now.
right. Yeah.
Sometimes you got to get it out. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And that's what it's about. It's letting it out. It's opening that valve to release, some of that stress and tension, which, again, can feed very well into a challenge of a mental health.
And let me share this for the viewers. Words are powerful.
Oh my gosh.
Um, just back in, what was it, Father's Day, and even a little bit before that, just
Mhm,
out of the blue, one of my brothers, Jamel Jenkins, yes, I put his name out there. He sent me a message. It was like 4 paragraphs, just affirmation after affirmation after affirmation after affirmation. I
mhm,
needed it. I don't think he realized I needed it.
mm,
Just to know, you know, being in education, this was a tough year, not teaching, but just managing and working with students that need additional support. Let me
mhm,
put it that way.
mhm,
And sometimes feeling down because you didn't quite reach one child. You may have
mhm,
reached 22 others, but the
mhm,
23rd child, made you feel like a failure to a certain extent. But
mhm.
just to read his words, and I'm like, wow, that was right on time. It was powerful. It
Yeah.
gave me it gave me the verbal support I needed.
Mhm,
It gave me, I guess, a little more oomph to say, you know what, I am a good teacher.
Mhm.
You know, it allowed me to feel encouraged. It allowed me to feel empowered. And I'm like, man, how did he know when to send this? He knew exactly what to say, you know. And I'm gonna say this: God knows who to send and when to send them when it's time,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and I often say, and I just had a conversation with my summer school class. Yes, not yesterday, on Wednesday. I said, words are powerful.
Mhm.
I said, use your words to help somebody,
Mhm.
even if it's just one word. Thank you, please, just your manners sometimes. I said, people need to hear those positive things. You know,
Absolutely.
men need to hear them. We can down each other in a heartbeat. We like to talk about each other, and no, like we need to start uplifting each other. You know,
Mhm.
stop viewing each other as a challenge and stop competing against each other.
Right.
And
Right.
I would say that because it goes back to one of the lessons we had about symbiotic relationships.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
although it was talking about animals, you know, I said to my students, I said, we also live in the same type of relationship. We need each other.
Mhm.
We can
Mhm.
tell each other, I don't need you and I got this. And no, we need each other. I
Mhm.
said, we serve a purpose no matter what you do in life, no matter where you are in life, no matter your education. We all need each other. That's why we're here. And we
Mhm.
can't do without each other. We can't live, we can't operate this world. We can't live without each other.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Because we were created to be interdependent. Mhm.
Absolutely.
And that's a good thing. And something else you kind of touched on in terms of, people showing compassion and reaching out. We have to do that if we want to engage in good, healthy mental health practices. We have to give ourselves some compassion as well. We have to
Absolutely.
practice self-compassion. We have to give ourselves a break. I mean, today, did I do everything perfectly? Of course not, because I'm an imperfect being living in an imperfect world. But if I did one thing right today, I'm going to give myself some props for that, most
Absolutely.
assuredly. And that builds up self confidence, it helps to build up self worth. And those are some of the enemies of, poor mental health, depression, sadness, anxiety, all those kinds of things. We can do that with words also, saying kind things to ourselves about ourselves, like you saying to yourself, you know what, I am a good teacher. That is powerful.
Absolutely.
It's so powerful. And I love it. Absolutely.
You know, one of the things I do, you said that I beat myself up sometimes, even with the podcast. I'm like, oh, I didn't see that word right. I didn't say that phrase right. Why was I looking to the left? Why was I looking to the right? You know,
Right.
and I sit there and I'm like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I just watched the news and they were fumbling over stories. They kept going. They didn't stop. Sometimes they'll just laugh. They start laughing. I'm thinking they're humans. We're human people. I am
Yes.
too. You know, like
Yes.
stop beating yourself up. Stop trying to be perfect. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
but that's how we are bred to like. You got to be perfect. The world is perfect. No, this world is not perfect,
No, it's not.
and we're not perfect either. We're gonna make mistakes. But guess
Exactly.
what? If you make a mistake, if you need help with something, reach out to somebody.
Hmm.
You know,
Absolutely.
if you can't talk to the person personally, send a text,
Hmm.
leave a voicemail,
Hmm.
leave a voice message. Like there's so many different ways we can reach out to people.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
send a song, whatever you're gonna do.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I you know, I used to feel I used to play that pity party of
Hmm.
there's nobody to talk to. My friends live over here. There ain't nobody, none of my friends live close by. I'm like, social media, all I can do, I can reach out to my friends through Messenger. You know, I can call, I can get in the car and drive. Like
Hmm.
I can get on a plane and fly. What am I doing? You know,
Right.
but I think
Right.
it's just so easy for us to get into our headspace and
Hmm.
we're shaking ourselves up and no, you didn't do this right. And you know, you got the little devil on this side telling you all the bad things. You got the angel over here trying to talk and you back and forth, and that's that struggle, you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
Um,
And those are the things, that do lead to overall poor mental health. And
right,
again, getting into those spaces where it's even worse because we didn't take the preventative steps, to stop that from happening. And it's like you see the what are they, like little gerbils or something like that? They get in that wheel that just keep
Right.
going round and round and round, and that's what happens in our heads, and we don't know how to get off. We don't know how to stop
Right.
it.
And,
That's
and I and I get there. I'm a thinker and I'm a creative person. And my brain is always going, even at night sometimes, like you said, turn things off. And I'm
mm-hmm,
like, why can't I turn the brain off? I'm like, Lord, I just want to sleep. And you keep giving me all these thoughts. But what I have to do is write them down.
mm-hmm,
Sometimes if it's in the middle of the night, an idea for a story or something pops in my head, I have to write it down or I cannot sleep.
mm,
Once I write it down, I'm good.
yeah,
Or I can write the title down and that'll kind of remind me, oh, that's what it is. I can
mm-hmm,
sleep.
mm-hmm,
Um, but there are
absolutely.
times I'm in deep thought processing. I told myself this weekend, I'm not gonna look at my lesson plans until maybe Sunday night.
Mm-hmm,
Because I need this time for the weekend for me to process and relax. And when I say process, meaning, oh man, what am I gonna do today? Okay, I'm just gonna watch TV. I'm gonna watch a movie. I
mm-hmm,
might draw. I might paint today. Whatever I want to do, but not think about work, not think
exactly,
about all the 50 million things you got to do to get
exactly.
ready for Monday. Monday's gonna be here.
Yeah, yeah.
Whether
It's
I'm
whether we want to or not.
right, right. But I've got to be able to say I enjoyed my weekend because I talked to so many colleagues. They're like, I didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm,
I'm like, well, I'm gonna do something. You
mm-hmm,
know, even if it's just I take a drive across North Raleigh.
mm-hmm,
I could
yeah,
be a good 45-minute drive, from one side of Raleigh to the next, and then I'll come back and I'm good. Turn on some music and burn up some gas and come back. you know.
exactly,
but
exactly.
you got to find out what you need for that moment, what works for you. Music sometimes works for me. As you know, I'll sit and I got an app. I create music. All the music I use for the podcast, I create on the app and everything, just
Mm-hmm,
to sit back and write. Maybe I'll write a new poem. I don't know. Who knows?
mm-hmm,
But it's to help me organize my thoughts, get rid of whatever feelings I was feeling for the week, and just be able to move on. You know?
absolutely, absolutely. And I think too that's another piece with mental health challenges is people get stuck and they don't know how to get out of that rut or how to shift gears in order to get into a different space. And, that goes back to being able to talk to somebody about what you're thinking and feeling and what's going on with you, who might be able to say, well, have you thought about this? And that can just kind of help you reframe, change your perspective about it and put you on a whole different level for sure. So,
Right.
yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you what works for me sometimes. And if you're watching this, don't think I'm crazy. Ride down the street, going to work or coming from work, and just speaking out loud what I'm thinking.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
whatever it is, just speaking it out loud. Just don't do it at a light because you're speaking out loud. Look at the person next to you, just kind of wave like, oh, okay. But no, but it helps me get out what I'm like, all those thoughts that are deep inside. And once I get it out, I'm good.
Absolutely. No, you're not crazy because I talk to my dogs all the time. I mean, they can't answer me back, number one, so they can't argue with me, but
Right.
I'll talk to them about, you know what, I was just thinking about this, this, and this. Now they may look at me like I'm crazy, but hey, it's that valve. I'm opening
Right.
it, I'm releasing it, and I can shift the energy, and that's completely up to me.
And, and something else is important, laughter. I think
Um,
we've forgotten how to laugh. I know a lot of people are very sensitive to comedy now, sensitive to jokes, and they feel like the jokes have gone too far and this and that.
mhm,
But I think we've stopped enjoying life for a minute, and I don't know why. I don't know where it happened.
mhm,
Um, I think before the pandemic, we were enjoying comedy. There were all these sketch comedies we were enjoying that they pushed
mhm,
they pushed things over to the edge, but nobody got upset about it.
Right.
But it
Right.
seems that in the middle of the pandemic, during the pandemic, coming out of it, now we are so sensitive about everything, um, how you look at a person, how you crack jokes, and the topics
Mhm.
we choose. And some of the topics that these comedians choose are true to life, you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
Sometimes when they tackle politics and things they see, or they tackle some of their own personal situations that they're going through with their family,
Mhm.
um, people get upset about it. There
Right.
are things with my dad that in the moment it's not funny. In
Mhm.
that moment it's not funny.
Mhm.
5 minutes later, after I had a chance to process, I'm like, what just happened? And I ask him, and we could laugh about it,
Mhm.
but I have to
Yeah.
get over the anger first. I'm like, he just don't know. I'm so much angry at him, and I'm so mad at him. But then we'll go back and we'll just start laughing because it's although it's a serious situation, um,
Mhm.
we we just sit and start cracking up. I can
Mm.
share one situation that happened many years ago when we had snow.
Mm.
Yeah, we actually had snow one winter, and
Okay.
there was a tree limb that fell against the door. And I
Mhm.
told him, I said, "Look, do not go outside. I'll go around. It's ice outside. It's snow and ice." I said, "I'll move the tree limb, and I'll
Mhm.
take care of it."
Mhm.
Well, I moved the tree limb from the door, and he pops out the door. Next thing you know, he's on the ground.
Oh my gosh.
It
Oh.
it was scary in the moment because I was concerned. Did he hit his head? He didn't. But then I started afterwards. I said, "Pops." After I got mad and got him back in the house and everything, I said, "You can't do this." I said, "It was iced," and I said,
Yeah.
"Had I fallen, we both would have been laying on the ground because then I wouldn't be able to get up." I said,
Mhm.
"What were you thinking?" He said, "I thought I could help you." I said, "Yeah, but you slid right off the porch." And all I
Right.
could picture was if people have played Mario and the little turtles on the back, and once they're in their shells, they're just wobbling back and forth.
Right.
I said, "Pops," I said, you can't do this." He's like, "Yeah, I guess I'll stay in the house." Yeah,
Yeah.
but those are things where I'm going, I can laugh at it now, but in the moment, I'm
Yeah.
fired up.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
but I'm like, "Pops, you can't." And then, but it's good where you can take something and be able to have moments to laugh. Because I
Mhm.
think we're forgetting to laugh. We're taking everything so serious. Yes,
Yes.
I get it. When there's a serious situation happen, yes, you got to be serious. But if you
Exactly.
can take a moment to find some laughter in it, then
Mhm.
it's okay. Because he was
Mhm.
laughing too. He was like, "Yeah, my feet were all up in the air," and I was like, "Yeah." I
Right.
said, "Pops," but those
Right.
things happen, and see, we got to learn to laugh at ourselves too.
We do. We
You
do.
know, um,
Absolutely.
we can be our biggest critics, yes, but also be your biggest comedic fan. Laugh
Mhm.
at yourself. Be able to say, "You know what, I made a mistake. Oh, it is what it is, and
Mhm.
it's not going to be
Absolutely.
the last mistake I made. It's not going to be the last time I embarrass myself." You know.
Exactly. I think I told you, and this happened years ago when I used to run a group therapy for a substance abuse program. And I had on this really cute pair of shoes one day. And, I'm sitting in group, I got my legs crossed, twirling my feet because my shoes are so cute. And I want the patients to see the shoes until one of them said, Miss Nia, are your shoes on the right feet? And I happened to look down, I had my shoes on the wrong feet because I couldn't figure out why the shoes were tight because I had worn them before we fell out, and you're right. I think about that. I give myself a lot of comic relief. I
R-
really do. So
right.
yeah, absolutely.
But that helps you in those moments. Like I
It
just want us to get back to being able to smile again, laugh again. Um, and
does.
I know the world is crazy. And I said this world is in chaos. We see it every day. We look at the news, we know it. There's no doubt about it. But
Absolutely.
we have to find the happy moments in life.
Hmm.
We have to find those moments that make us smile, that make us just say, "You know what? I'm just glad to be here, or that just really pulls on my heartstrings. We got to find those moments.
Yes, yes. The other moments, I think, and we talk a lot about this when we do presentations, is to practice good mental health and to keep going in that direction is to practice gratitude
Yes,
and self-forgiveness. Self-forgiveness definitely fits in very well with self-compassion. But if you're having a bad day, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling depressed and out of sorts, if you sit and think about three things that you're grateful for, that can help to shift. It really can. And I use that all the time when I'm having a bad day. What am I grateful for? Because I am truly blessed. And if I think about those things, I've taken myself out of that sadness, that depression, that anxiety, whatever it is. So those are, just two very important pieces for good mental health. Absolutely.
absolutely. Um, Before we wrap things up, because this has been a great conversation, and I hope that I always say this: I don't know who is going to listen to this, who's going to watch this, but I hope it touches somebody's life where they can say, you know what, I needed to hear that, or I know someone else who needs to hear this.
Yes. Yes.
Um, how can they access support for mental health, or do you have any direct, I guess, emails or numbers that you could share where somebody says, okay, I need a little more support? And I know they can Google it. We
Mhm,
can Google anything,
mhm.
but just any particular information you could share.
One of the best resources to give people a variety of options to, either see an individual for therapy, counseling, life coaching, stuff like that, is NAMI, and that is the National Alliance for Mental Illness. Um, they can put you in touch with support groups, literature, individual therapists, counselors, life coaches. They can provide you with a lot of information about, if you say, these are the symptoms that I'm experiencing. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. And let me put some information together for you that can kind of help guide you in the direction that you need to go. That's my go-to. I go to NAMI all the time and get a wealth of information. So that would be my number one recommendation. And another one is the national, and I hate to say this, but the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's actually in my slides here. So once you get to the end of this podcast, you'll
Yeah.
see that number. You can always jot that number down. It's just a 3-digit number I put up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to have and
Absolutely.
to memorize, whether you need it for yourself or somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And there are other sites that I go to for information, such as like Psychology Today, to read articles.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a place there you can reach out to a therapist. So there's so many avenues at which you can get a licensed therapist, you can get support, you can get help, you can find groups.
Mm-hmm.
But the most important part is you have to want to.
Mm-hmm. You do. You
You
definitely.
have to want to need that help or support.
Right. Could I mention two other apps again that I
Yes.
promote to people and use myself? One is called headspace.com. And this, it's an app. You can download it on your phone, but they've got information on a variety of mental health issues. They do meditations, they do mindfulness, they have music to help people go to sleep at night. And the same with another app called Calm, CALM.com. Same thing, app you can download. Got some great information there too. And if you need help, you can talk to somebody at either one of those places and they can give you some really good information and direction. So I promote those a lot too.
Awesome. Well, I greatly appreciate that. There are a lot of resources out there, and sometimes we get overwhelmed by the sheer number and not sure who to reach out to. But if you
Mhm.
need help or support, reach out to somebody.
Yes.
Don't
Please,
you are,
definitely.
like you said at the beginning, you are not alone. Michael Jackson said that also. I am here for you. So there's somebody here for you.
Absolutely.
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 So
Yeah.
Nia, this has been a great conversation. I always love it when
Yes,
you're here. We always have these great conversations and
you
get
do.
so in depth about everything. I know there's more information we did not touch on. There's so many different um, aspects of mental health that we could talk about.
Hmm.
For the viewers out there, do some of the research. There's a lot of statistics, a lot of information that you can get in all categories. So if you want to look at one particular category, you can do that. NAMI is the one I went to earlier, so I'm glad you shared that. And yeah, so it's that information's out there. Use it. It might take a little time. Take some time out of your day.
Right.
If you're curious, there's plenty of knowledge out there.
Mhm. And that's self-care by taking that time to do the research to find out what's out there. That is another form of self-care. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, Nia, before we go, um, can you leave our listeners with some words of encouragement and then I'll wrap this up?
definitely. And I probably sound like a broken record, but I do want to let people know that you are not alone. What you're feeling, what you're experiencing, and what you're going through. There are so many other people going through the exact same thing. So definitely reach out. But one of the other big pieces is to tap into that internal spring of hope. Sometimes that hope gets pushed down, but tap into that hope because that's what's going to help propel you to do the things that you need to do, to take care of yourself, to be your best self, to thrive, and to be able to live your best life. Tap into that. It's there.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you for those words of encouragement. You said live your best life, and guess what? You're living life and love with vitiligo because that's what we do.
Yes.
And I say that I have vitiligo, but Nia, you also have a vitiligo connection. If you'll share that real quick, and then I will wrap this up.
Yes. Yes. One of the things that Mark and I connected on when we were attending a training together is my mom had vitiligo and she referred to her spots as her beauty spots. So I grew up believing that vitiligo was beautiful because that's, how she felt and what she projected. So I loved it. So I shared that with Mark and we've been connected ever since.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know if I need somebody to talk to, I can reach out to Nia and just say, hey, this is what's going on. And
Yes.
then one of the things you will always say to me is, what are you doing to take care of yourself?
Yes.
So I'm going to say this to the viewers. What are you doing to take care of yourself? So think about that. When you feel stressed, what are you doing to take care of you? You have been listening to Living Life and Love and watching Living Life and Love with your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. And it's Living Life and Love with vitiligo. So you have to excuse me because my old show was Living Life and Love, but this is Living Life and Love with vitiligo. I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. Y'all take care. Remember to love somebody, love your family members, all of them, love your spouse, love your kids. Love your kids, even when they're challenging. Love that neighbor, your coworkers, love your enemy. Love that person that just cut you off as you're driving down the street because you don't know what they're dealing with. Yeah, love that person. I get it. Even when you blow on the horn, use some positive words for them and pray they make it home safely. Anyway, y'all take care. Peace. And remember to look into that mirror and tell yourself, I love you. Have a great day.